It's time for the 1430 Connection on 1430 WNAV and 99.9 FM, spotlighting news, newsmakers, and important community issues. Now, with this week's edition of the 1430 Connection, here is WNAV news anchor Donna Cole.
Welcome to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. Today I'm talking to Christian Smooth. He's Annapolitan, graduated from Annapolis High, went on to Morgan State University, where he studied film and screenwriting. Christian, does that sound about right? And thank you for joining me today.
That's good. That's good. Thank you.
So a lot of us in Annapolis know you from being out and about with your camera. It's never far from your side, kind of like me as well, yes?
Oh, yeah. I share the same sentiments, right. The black reported man, apparently.
Right now, history is unfolding before our very eyes. That should have happened long before, but it is happening now. Mm-hmm. When did you start covering the protest?
I started recording the protest back in, back in March. It all started with the reopening Maryland protest. As you remember, when they was driving through Annapolis, honking their horns. That's when when it first started. Then after the whole George Floyd debacle. It was about 2 weeks. I've basically been covering these protests from the reopening Maryland people and these George Floyd protests all throughout quarantine.
Now, you don't work for a specific media entity, correct?
No, I'm right now I'm freelance. So
what made you decide to get up, leave the house, and go record this?
I feel like it's important to, cover history, especially like you said, what's going on but before our very eyes, because I feel like a lot of times fans say, let's say the George Floyd protest, some of those could be skewed, a lot of them, you look on TV, you see a lot of people just looting, just a bunch of crazy stuff going on. So I want to try to capture the both sides, but more so I want to focus on the whole peaceful angle,
Catch it all with your lens.
Right, exactly.
You continue doing this throughout. How many different protests have you been to between the Reopen Maryland and the Black Lives Matter? Do you have any idea? Because I know you've not just been at the Annapolis protest, you've gone other places as well. Yeah,
I've been in D.C. So 2 of those 3. First one, I want to probably say around 8 protests. The visual, including the visual for last Sunday.
That's a lot of photographs. How many photographs do you think you've shot?
When I shoot, I tend to just I'm not one of those shoot photographers who just it's right on 100 shots in a second. If I had to guess, I'd probably say probably 2,000 shots by now.
Yeah, for any of us that shoot photos, it's with the advent of the digital camera versus film, we can shoot lots and lots. Has it occurred to you, Christian, that you are the only black photographer out there in Annapolis anyway that I've seen recording this?
I don't know. I feel like it's probably gonna be someone else. I don't want to take all the credit, but
Have you seen others? How's that?
I've seen others. I've seen other people put their work out. I feel like they probably haven't got as much exposure as I have.
Mm-hmm. However, you're one of a few black photographers in Annapolis that has been, and you happen to be the only one I've seen. I know that there are some people that are, or quite a few people that are recording what they're seeing before their very eyes with their cell phones but you are the only one that I know that it has, some professional experience behind you and the education behind you with that camera. That is black, that is recording this. Would that be a fair way of putting it?
That's a great way of putting it. I've been doing photography for about probably 8 years now.
Do you think your perspective is an important perspective? And the reason why I've asked you to be my guest on this week's show, by the way, is I do think your perspective is important. I don't think we have enough diversity in our local media. And to see photographs by me, who's, somewhat older, not over the hill, maybe over the hill, whatever, older, white.
I thought you're 25.
Keep it up, Christian. Somewhat older white female, multimedia reporter, or Capital's photojournalist is a white photojournalist, not also older than you. So your perspective, I think, matters. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, of course. I definitely feel like a lot of times I feel like the black perspective is also left out because a lot of times we're not like really, our work isn't like shown to I guess like the forefront. So I'm definitely proud to do what I do. Like even capture like like some of the small lists, like these like the protests that are going on at Brewster's,
And what did you see at Brewster's? Tell me about that. Brewster's is an ice cream retail shop on Forest Drive in Annapolis, and the franchise owner of that Brewster's put out some what could be considered racist social media posts. He apologized for them. People didn't buy into his apology, and protests continued, right?
Yeah, exactly right. It was so basically what I saw was I went out like the day after he made those comments. And it was like 3 young ladies who like lead these protests that we see like downtown city docks. They got together and they just had signs, and they were just letting their voices be heard, which I think is like rightly so. They was like going against like a black employee who worked there, and also like the owner's wife.
And what was your feeling about the post that he and his wife put up?
I mean, I feel like it was like sad. I feel like given these times that we live in. I feel like this is something that shouldn't have been said. It's very, like you said, it's racist, and he should know better. Do I feel like his business should suffer? I don't know. I feel like it should, personally.
So by boycotting the business.
Boycott them. I feel like, personally, from my experience, like they don't like racist individuals. I feel like it's like hard for them to change, but only way to get these people to change, especially like the business owners, is like boycott their business, make them feel the pain that people in the black community feel,
Why do you think that some people have trouble grasping the idea that black and brown people have had so many injustices, one after another, that have been treated horribly, that have been mistreated horribly, and that have said that Black Lives Matter? Why do you think that so many don't understand that concept?
I can't really say. Because I feel like a lot of people like say like Black Lives don't matter, like all lives matter. I feel like they look at the fact that Black Americans they're free. They can go into like white establishments. They can buy their way into like upper class neighborhoods. So they feel like they're on like a level playing field. But they ignore like the fact that we had to go through segregation, Jim Crow. We only been I guess you say like quote unquote free. I still believe we're completely free since like probably like the 1960s, So I just feel like they just have like a very distorted lens of reality, because like because they're born with this inherent privilege. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna probably get some flack from that, but who cares?
There's people that think that the protests are against all police. The protests are against white people. That's not the case. The protests are saying, listen to us, our lives matter. Our lives have always mattered. We have been treated not equally.
Yes, I agree. These protests are definitely, for just to have our voices heard. People just hurting right now. And it's I just feel like George Floyd, just seeing like a police officer like nailing on this man's neck for like 9 minutes. That was like almost akin to looking at someone like just mistreat a dog. Oftentimes, in the black community, we feel like the life of like a dog is worth more than like a life of like a black person.
We'll be right back on the 1430 Connection. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. I'm talking today to Christian Smoove. He's an Annapolis photographer. He studied film and screenwriting at Morgan State University. He has been busy out there covering the protests, from the Reopen Maryland protest all the way through these current protests. Is this surprising to you that all of this is happening right now?
I kind of predicted something like this would happen, but I wouldn't think it would like happen like this soon, Because I look at like what's going on in America right now, with like the people who support Trump and people who are against Trump. I just felt like some sort of like quasi civil war that we have, and it was like bound to happen eventually. Both sides want to be heard. I just feel like the Black Lives Matter side, their voices are finally being heard, which I think is a beautiful thing, And it just like really just like breaks my heart to just to see that the people out here who are just downplaying these people's like pain. I mean, I do a lot of behind the scenes research. I go to a lot of these what you consider racist forums, and just to see how they mock the deaths of people like George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery, and just to say, oh yeah, they committed crimes, so we shouldn't care about them,
Do you respond? Do you comment on these?
No, I don't. I just watch. I think it's important to get inside the mind of these racists and white supremacists.
I can't imagine reading some of this and not commenting on it.
It's horrible. It's horrible. I mean, they have a lot of coded language. One of the biggest one that really makes me upset is the 13% out of 50%, which is saying that African Americans are 13% of the population, but commit 50% of the crimes.
To get back to these protests, tell me what you saw in Annapolis versus what you saw in Washington, D.C., and how they were different.
Annapolis protests are a lot more peaceful. What I saw in D.C., there was something straight out of a movie. I mean, unfortunately, I missed the peaceful side of the protest. I came in during all the I guess you say the madness. I was fortunate enough to be tear gas.
You were tear gassed, and what was that like? Were you very close to where it was put out?
Yeah, I was right back in. I try to put my track skills to use and try to get out. But I still had some of the effects of the tear gas. My eyes were burning. My throat was on fire, and my lungs felt like someone was beating my way, punching bag for the whole entire night. I was there from 9 o'clock to about 12 in the morning.
Ugh. So the difference between the D.C. protest versus Annapolis protest, you've seen both sides of the coin in D.C., or you came towards the end of the peaceful and the beginning of what was the police deploying tear gas.
Right. It was just just to see just people breaking in buildings and lighting cars on fire, and it was just like I said, it was just something straight out of a movie. I couldn't imagine being in something like that happening in Annapolis. I feel like Annapolis is too. I mean, I'll say this. I feel like Annapolis isn't even prepared something what will happen D.C. and other parts of the country.
Were you scared?
Was I scared? No, of course. I was great. I mean, I'll say this. It was exciting. It was exciting. I felt like I was like a war photographer.
Not tear gassing, and not during the protest, but with the continued police brutality against black men in America, is this a constant concern in your mind every time you go out the door, or if you get pulled over for a speeding ticket? What goes through your mind?
It's at the back of my mind. I mean, I've been pulled over before. Luckily, it's never been nothing to the extent where I have to get arrested or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I fear for a lot of other people who look like me though. Who may not be as fortunate.
We'll be right back on the 1430 Connection. See, you're doing great. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. Today I'm talking to Christian Smooth. He's a local Annapolis filmmaker and photographer. He studied film and screenwriting at Morgan State University. He's a graduate of Annapolis High School. So, Annapolis, grew up here. You are now seeing history unfolding before our very eyes. Black Lives Matter has a lot of allies all across the world. What has that meant to you to see not just the Black Lives Matter movement and these protests, but all of the allies that are coming out, and not just in Annapolis, but even in communities like Edgewater, even in communities on the Eastern Shore in Talbot County, where Frederick Douglass was held as a slave, where racism has had a very long history? What has all that meant to you?
I mean, I think it's a beautiful thing, but I mean, I will say, because of who I am, I've been tainted by, society. So I have a hint of cynicism, but just to see people just show up, stand alongside black people, And I feel like it's a good thing. I feel like it's like long overdue, and I feel like I mean sincere. You know, I'm starting to see that these people like I'm talking about the white people who like come out to these like protesters are sincere about what's going on in this country, and they want to change. So I'm happy.
Do you think this is finally going to be the turning point in changing everything that has gone wrong, and beginning to change the systematic racism that black and brown people have been subject to throughout the history of our United States?
No, I don't think it is.
You don't think it is?
I think it's a start. I think it's a start. I think we're heading towards the right direction. Right now it's all about just being persistent and continue to try to get your voice heard. Because one of the things that I fear is like we're going to be like too comfortable with these just come out to these protests, but we need like action plans. Like what we because I mean like one criticism that I have from these protests. I'm just talking as a journalist right now is I'm not clear on what we trying to get from all this. I mean, I'm hearing about the police. Like, what does that look like? And I mean, I do feel like like the abilities of police officers in this country should be strong, and it shouldn't be militarized. But I feel like we need to achieve true equality. I mean, a lot of stuff needs to happen. I don't think it's going to happen within like these few months. It's going to take like years to really change things the way we want. I mean, given that Trump's in office right now, I feel like it's going to take a while,
And so, what do you think will help change all of this?
I mean, we got change some laws. We gotta shrink the powers of the police. I mean, for one, and we gotta find ways to rectify the racism that lives in this country to like black people, be it reparations or like otherwise.
And voting?
Yeah, of course, like voting. I mean, we need like I feel like we need like new leaders to lead us into like a better direction. Like I applaud like Donna for what he's doing, like his organization skills and getting like younger people out to into politics. So I think that's an awesome thing. We need like more like younger people in politics right now.
And do you have any interest in it?
I thought I would get into politics, but no, that's not my thing.
Not your thing.
I don't want to be. It's not my thing. I don't want to be corrupted by the system.
Well, Christian, you keep recording our history for us with your cameras, and I certainly appreciate you doing it.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot to me. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Do you have a website where people can see, or a Facebook page? Where do you want to direct people to?
My website is smoothhouseproductions.com, and you can also reach out to me on Instagram. My handle is @smoozus, SMOOZUS, and my Facebook page is Christian Smooth. If you want to be my friend, so follow me.
Well, I'm glad we are friends. Thank you for doing what you're doing, and for joining me today on the 1430 Connection.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
This is Donna Cole on the 1430 Connection. We will see you next week.